Maureen O'Sullivan has been pressing the Minister for Arts, Culture and the Gaeltacht this morning on why €4 million was paid for the NAMA-owned properties on the Moore Street 1916 battle site. Deputy O'Sullivan said the site was derelict, and she asked if there was any approach to the owners appealing to their sense of culture to take a more innovative approach to the area. Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan joins us now from our Dáil studio. Deputy O'Sullivan, good afternoon. Thanks for talking to us.
Good afternoon.
Is it your view that 4 million is over the odds, or that we shouldn't be paying anything, given that NAMA ostensibly is owned by the people of Ireland?
Mm-hmm. I think NAMA should have gifted the properties to the state, and I still didn't get an answer as to how 4 million was arrived at, how that was actually costed, that you would pay that for 4 buildings of great historical significance, but they are in disrepair and they are derelict, and I've been in them. And that dereliction and disrepair has been allowed to continue over the years, not just for the 4 houses, but also of the terrace and the laneways. And the point I would make is that, and I have done the tour around there with the relatives of those who were in the GPO, and each step from the GPO, along the laneways, along Moore Street, those 4 houses, number 10, other houses, along down to where the rotunda is and the surrender, each step tells a different story. So to me, there is a need for a different vision for that area, and that's why I was asking, had anybody appealed to Chartered Land's sense of culture? I mean, you could make profit in culture also, and while it's welcome that 14 to 17 will be restored and preserved according to best international practice, there is an issue about the surrounding area that should be appropriate.
Well,
and their plan is for a shopping centre, another shopping centre, when the area is seeing the closure of Cleary's, prospective closure of Boyers.
I presume Minister Humphreys will tell you that is the responsibility of Dublin City Council. That's nothing to do with her.
I have been listening to this passing the book for the past number of years, since the approach of the centenary. And it's very easy to say it's Dublin City Council's fault. They will say it's somebody else's fault, back and forth. There was always a need for people to come together to resolve this and to have a kind of, as I said, a more innovative vision for that area. I mean, people lived on that street in the past. We have a housing crisis. Why are we not looking for it for housing as well as preserving the character? And I do think that will be much more in keeping with the long-serving street trading tradition there also.
I presume it comes down to money in the end. If somebody is bidding for a prime retail site in the city centre to build a shopping centre, it's much more attractive to Dublin City Council.
Well, that's a question that Dublin City Council have to answer. But, we're just appealing that Dublin has so much to offer in terms of the history and the culture. And we look at the tourists who come here for that, not just for the shopping. I mean, what sort of a city do we want Dublin to be? And I think we have a great opportunity here on that area, the laneways of history. So much happened along there to preserve it in a much more innovative and a much more suitable way.
Deputy O'Sullivan, I could move on just to another subject that I know that you're interested in, given the constituency work that you do in your own area, and that's the whole area of drugs. And these suggestions been floated by Minister Eoin O'Riordan in recent weeks, a number of them. Well, firstly, the whole notion of the introduction of medically supervised injecting facilities. What's your take on that?
OK, I actually hosted the meeting here in the AV room when Anna Liffey project came in, and they showed the film based on the Australian model. Now, it was difficult watching the film and looking at people in these centres injecting, but they are for a very particular cohort of drug users. I mean, personally, I would prefer to see everybody in recovery, but that's not reality. So I do think there is a role for them. But I have to make one point, is that I hope the budget for these is not going to be taken out of the existing addiction services budget, because they're really struggling at the moment to cover the services that they are providing. And one other thing I would ask the Minister is that he would be cognizant of where that is going, or they are going, because there are areas where there are a lot of services. There are areas that are, they're seeing considerable antisocial behaviour through alcoholism and through drug addiction. And I do think he has to be cognizant of that, and particularly if there's an older community living there.
Well, exactly. But I suppose the point is that everybody says, well, I'm not sure about this, or I think it's a good idea, just I don't want it near me. And the question then has to be asked of you, would you like one of those on your street?
On my own street, I'm answering for myself, I would, because I saw the best practice in Australia, and there were absolutely no issues for that particular centre because it was managed professionally, and the people coming in were a particular cohort of drug user. I'm not too sure that it will suit that chaotic injecting drug user that we do see on the street, because I'm just wondering, and I was speaking about this to the projects, will they be able to wait to get to one of these centres? But I do think it will fulfil a role with a certain drug using cohort. And the other thing I would say is that people who have worked in those medical injecting centres, supervised centres, they see a reduction in the drug use.
Maureen O'Sullivan, thank you indeed for talking to us this afternoon. That's Independent Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan in